Business Forum. Please take your seats.
Welcome to Royal Jubilee Ballroom, Muang Thong, Thani. Our multi-purpose hall is certified with TIS 22300 My Security Management System. 9 emergency exits are located throughout Royal Jubilee Ballroom. Royal Jubilee Ballroom is equipped with fire extinguishers and fire hoses. In case of emergency, please follow the safety guideline. You will hear the fire alarm or are instructed to leave the building. For your safety, please evacuate using the nearest exit. Exhaust fans and fire sprinkler system will automatically start during emergency. Roller shutter will be open, enabling you to escape. If the smoke is too thick, stay low and crawl to the nearest exit. Do not try to leave through one exit only. In case of an emergency evacuation, Impact's personnel will assist you immediately. Exit to the front of room and leave the building. Exit to the lateral of room. Evacuate the building and proceed to Active Square, the car park opposite to Impact Arena. Thank you for your cooperation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our hostess for the 2019 Indo-Pacific Business Forum, Sopa Peach Shumsai Na Ayutthaya.
Sawadee-ka. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 2019 Indo-Pacific Business Forum. This is a very impressive audience. We have chiefs of mission from across the Indo-Pacific region. We have CEOs and senior executives spanning nearly every industry. And we have distinguished senior leaders from numerous Indo-Pacific governments. And of course, we want to recognize and extend our appreciation to two host governments, the United States and the Kingdom of Thailand. Before we get started, we have a very full program today, and I know that many of you may have arranged side meetings with others. Coffee and beverages will be available all day in the foyer area. On your place setting, you will find a couple of items. First is a box with USTDA's logo that contains a thumb drive. This thumb drive provides you access to USTDA's newly released Indo-Pacific Resource Guide. The guide details 70 priority infrastructure project opportunities in the Indo-Pacific region, spanning the energy, transportation, and ICT sectors with significant U.S. export and commercial potential. In the guide, you will also find relevant U.S. government project contacts. We hope that you'll utilize this guide as a resource as your organization looks to expand its business and activities in the region. Also in this thumb drive is the official U.S. government infrastructure toolkit, which serves as a guide on how foreign governments and U.S. companies can support infrastructure development projects across the Indo-Pacific. Lastly, you have a program booklet, and please note that we have had some changes through the agenda and speakers after the printing. Please make sure to visit the forum's website, worldwideweb.indopacificbusinessforum.com, to read about our speakers and panelists in detail. Now it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage the Chairman of the Thai Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Kalin Sarasin.
His Excellencies, Mr. Wilbur, U.S. Secretary of Commerce, His Excellency Dr. Gopsak Putagun, former Minister attached to Prime Minister's Office, Deputy Secretary General to the Prime Minister's Office for Political Affairs. Mr. Charles Freeman, Executive Vice President and the Head of International U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. On behalf of Thai Chamber of Commerce and business community in Thailand, it is my pleasure to welcome our participants to the second Indo-Pacific Business Forum 2019 this morning. The first time Indo-Pacific Business Forum was in Washington, D.C. last July, last year. So, thank you again. Come to Thailand. And last year we have visitors from US, around 1 million people. And hopefully, once you come, there will be more and more visitors from US. I would like to express my deep appreciation and to thank all the speakers who join us today to share your view and experience at this forum. And I would like to thank Foreign Ministries, U.S. Chamber of Commerce for helping arrange this event. It is such opportunities to have so many business leaders and high-level executives here to make the comments in this forum. Thailand and US, we have been trading partners for more than 200 years. The relationship is getting stronger and stronger. There are a tremendous number of investment in ASEAN, not only in Thailand but in ASEAN. More than 6,000 companies from US in Thailand, ranging from beverage, telecommunications, household appliance, petrochemicals, automotive, energies, and etc. Hopefully after today, there will be more investment in Thailand and ASEAN. The world is changing very fast, especially with unbalanced global trade and digital technology disruption. Nowadays, digital technology become part of our daily life. Our lifestyle has been changed. Demand of products and services also changed. Lots of opportunities lie ahead of us. Majority of companies in these regions are SMEs. They are driving force of our economies. However, only SME with high adaptabilities will survive. The reskill and upskill with digital technology is needed. Part of global value chains has been shifted to more competitive location, especially to ASEAN. To cope with these changes, all stakeholders in the Indo-Pacific regions, including public sectors, private sectors, academics, and civil societies, should connect and work closely together, come one strong partnership for a stronger Indo-Pacific. As we look at number of population in Indo-Pacific, it's almost 4 billion people, one of the largest region in the world. Indo-Pacific region is very important, and prosperities of this region will be key drivers of the world economies. All of you know that Indo-Pacific is strategically linkage between Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean. These regions includes the world's largest economy, such as the US, China, Japan, and other fast-growing economies, such as India and ASEAN countries. Some may view Indo-Pacific strategies as geographical definitions, and some may see it as geopolitical concepts. But from the business point of view, the overall objective of the strategies is to pursue economic prosperities together and to promote sustainable growth and connectivities in the region. We prioritize the common interests for everyone equally and comprehensively to assure dedication and efforts are channeled to promote prosperities and foster partnership within the region. So what we should think about the strategy is how to implement into action. The said action can be in various forms such as free trade agreement, investment in hard and soft infrastructures, and also capability building for human capital in the region. Indo-Pacific Business Forum today intend to be inclusive platform led by the private sector to promote trade and investment opportunities as well as economic cooperation to fulfill the development needs and growth for potential of the Indo-Pacific. To accomplish the challenges of sustainable development of each country. These events will present in-depth discussion among business leaders on challenges to grow the digital economy, energy sectors, and infrastructure development, as well as the implementation of cooperation between private, public, and also international institutions. Moreover, the forum will provide concrete information about new financing mechanisms and numerous opportunities, not only the opportunities for practical and viable projects, but also through business networking. So this conference aims to expand the understanding of what Indo-Pacific Initiative is and how it is viewed in ASEAN and Indo-Pacific region. Moreover, it will explore opportunities for engagement of ASEAN and other countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I am optimistic and encouraged by this initiative and trust everyone will be too. I would like to warmly welcome everyone to Thailand and to Indo-Pacific Business Forum 2019. I hope the events today will be great opportunities for all of us to learn new things and get excited by the future of the region together. So thank you very much ครับ สวัสดีครับ Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sarasin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Senior Vice President for Asia for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Charles Freeman.
Thank you. Good morning. It's great to be here. For those of you that don't know the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, we're the world's largest business organization. We represent the interests of about 3 million U.S. companies. So when Kun Colin mentioned that 6,000 are invested here, we still have about 2,994,000 left to go. That's a lot of potential. So it's great to be here, and I hope there's a lot of success that comes out of this. I want to thank a few people and recognize a few people. First of all, I want to thank the Royal Thai government for being such a great host. I know there's a lot going on here, so particularly to the Foreign Ministry, I want to thank you for all the support. Let me thank our friends at the Thai Chamber of Commerce and Kun Colin for your partnership, and we look forward to working with you closely in many years to come. Secretary Ross and your team at DOC, Undersecretary Kroc and your team at State, U.S. Trade and Development Agency, led by Acting Administrator Thomas Hardy. I want to add that TDA has been the primary organizer of this event, and has handled the complex logistics of getting all of us in the room together. Let me thank the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok, the Royal Thai Embassy in Washington, OPIC President Bohegan, Ex-Im Bank Kimberly Reed, Deputy USAID Administrator Bonnie Glick, American ambassadors from across the Indo-Pacific. I've seen many of you here, and it's great to have you here, and many others. Look, showing up is important, especially in this part of the world, so thank you for showing up. But let's be honest, sustained engagement in the Indo-Pacific is more about substance than symbolism. And in that regard, I think we have a lot to look forward to. We're very encouraged at the Chamber by the energy and focus that the Trump administration is placing on the Indo-Pacific, as demonstrated by the presence of all of us here today. As I said, you know, the United States is, despite what you may have heard, the U.S. business community is the largest investor in this part of the world. And sustaining that and keeping that going is going to take a lot of work from the whole of government and the whole of business and all of us here today. We're strong supporters of the BUILD Act, for example, in the United States, signed into law last year, which increases financial support for U.S. companies in this part of the world, and you'll hear about that later today. We were very supportive of the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act, which establishes a long-term strategic vision and a comprehensive, multifaceted, and principled U.S. policy for the Indo-Pacific. You'll hear about more of that today. We really need a whole-of-government approach from the United States. And the U.S. business community, you know, we're committed to working closely with the U.S. government and with all of the businesses and governments in this part of the world. We really believe that the future of Asia and the future of business in Asia, it remains an open, transparent, rules-based system. And the architecture that we're all working on today with the U.S. government, I think, will push forward on that. The U.S. government has chosen, I think, in terms of its focus, 3 key areas. I want to touch briefly on some of those. You'll hear about that today. You know, we're focused on digital issues, energy issues, and infrastructure. Let me touch on each of those really quickly. In terms of digital, you know, clearly there are flawed approaches being taken around the world, and including in this region, to growing and sustaining the digital economy. Restrictions on cross-border data flows are a challenge. We've got new and complex regulatory regimes that affect data. We've got challenges for regulation of e-commerce. We've got investment measures that force technology transfer. And we've got misuse of competition law. So we want to encourage the State Department under Secretary Kroc to lead and coordinate a whole-of-government approach on the U.S. that promotes a multi-stakeholder model for internet governance, for privacy, and cybersecurity across the Indo-Pacific. Privacy and cybersecurity frameworks that facilitate digital trade and seamless movement of data across borders are critical. The United States has worked closely with an APEC to formulate the cross-border privacy rules and the CBPR system. You know, there are a few of us out here that have adopted the CBPRs. I want to encourage Thailand to do so. I want to encourage other governments in APEC to do the same. And although differences in privacy regimes can be bridged by things like the CBPR, we've got cybersecurity regulatory frameworks that are being developed and implemented that also threaten the movement of data. You know, in the United States, we've got the NIST framework for improving critical infrastructure cybersecurity, which is a fantastic model, an innovation-friendly framework that encourages a technology-neutral approach to cyber risks. But there are other approaches being developed in this part of the world and elsewhere that are throwing the system out of alignment. So we want to encourage the United States government and governments in this region to work closely on making sure we've got more of a harmonized approach to cybersecurity. You know, at the Chamber, we've developed a private sector approach to some of these issues, and happy to work with governments to talk about those. We've also worked on artificial intelligence issues and worked closely with some ASEAN governments on the Smart Cities program, and want to do the same in the future. There are some models out there on digital that we think are useful. In particular, we want to laud the U.S. administration and the government of Japan for reaching a really solid digital chapter in the phase 1 of what we hope will be a comprehensive trade agreement between the United States and Japan. It really does set the gold standard, we believe, for digital rules, and I think for Asia in particular. So we want to encourage greater attention to that. Quickly, let me turn to energy infrastructure quickly. Both the Enhancing Development and Growth Through Energy Asia Edge and the Infrastructure Transaction and Assistance Network, ITAN, are helpful programs that have the potential to boost U.S. business participation in energy and infrastructure across the Indo-Pacific. Let's be clear. The United States companies right now are unable to compete with the levels and ease of availability of financing options at the disposal of some of our competitors. The financing options through the BUILD Act are a good start. We urge efforts to create and leverage the new U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. And I also want to strongly reiterate the U.S. Chamber's longstanding belief that a fully functioning Ex-Im Bank is crucial for American competitiveness. But we also need financing options. Thank you. We also need financing options that that can be achieved through coordinating with individual partners on an individual basis, as well on a like-minded partners, as well as through multilateral institutions. And I know that this will be an additional topic today. We particularly want to see financing options for telecom infrastructure, including wireless tech connectivity, including 5G, including satellite and others, all of which, as you know, are subjects of fierce competition. We've recommended eliminating funding restrictions for energy projects based on technology transfer. And we need to emphasize competitive, innovation-driven energy markets with light touch regulation and the importance of a life cycle approach to infrastructure investment. Earlier this year, we suggested the government create a database of energy infrastructure and digital project opportunities across the region. We are pleased to see that USTDA has done just that. Everyone should have a copy of the thumb drives, and I'm assured that there are no viruses, so feel free to download those into your computer. Okay, anyway, what do we think about, I think, again, the administration's focus for the Indo-Pacific on energy, digital, and infrastructure is well placed, but in order to facilitate greater U.S. business participation and in these areas and many others, we want to encourage the U.S. government to promote enhanced investment protections. Those include in investor-state dispute settlement areas. Those include in areas that resist any effort to unwind supply chain investments, that include areas that insist on non-discriminatory treatment and reject performance requirements. There's an elephant in the room, and so we want to continue to encourage the United States and China to bring a close to their long-running tariff conflict. It's damaging to U.S. businesses, farmers and consumers, as well as those out here in the region. The elephants are fighting and the grass is getting crushed, and we want to see an end to that. But we do want to see the U.S. and China not just reach a truce or a thaw in the relationship, but to focus on achieving a comprehensive deal that sets the terms of engagement between the two world's largest economies as we head into the third decade of the 21st century. Again, I mentioned the Japan agreement. It's critical that not just stop at a mini deal or a phase one, but that blossom into a fully comprehensive agreement. We need trade agreements. TPP in the United States is a bad word, and that's too bad. We should be in TPP. And whether or not we're getting back into TPP, we certainly need to approach a more liberalized policy, whether that's on a bilateral or multilateral basis, and we urge the administration to hurry up and get on with that. Okay, ultimately there's no substitute for committed and enduring economic presence. So as much as we commend the administration for what it's achieved to date, we want to ask some tough questions. How do we bring our engagement to a deeper level? What are the standards by which we partner to invest in the region in a way which promotes that open, transparent, rules-based framework that we all want to see? And how do we guard against protectionism and ensure that all our countries reap the benefits of trade investment? Today's forum will address these and many other questions, and I hope that this event will answer or get us closer to answering those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. And now it is my privilege to welcome to the stage Dr. Gopsak Putrakoon, former minister attached to the Prime Minister's Office of Thailand.
สวัสดีครับ Good morning. The Honorable Wilbur Ross, Secretary of Commerce of the United States. Mr. Kalin Sarasin, Chairman, Thai Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Charles Freeman, Senior Vice President for Asia, U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be invited to represent the Royal Thai government in delivering the opening address at the second Indo-Pacific Business Forum. This gathering is aimed at promoting business and investment opportunity of the private sector in the direction that would help support development in the regions and enhancing the role of the public sector in creating an environment conducive to business and investment of the private sector, thereby promoting future development in the regions. On the behalf of the Royal Thai government, I would like to welcome all distinguished participants, particularly the Honorable Wilbur Ross for leading the delegation of the top U.S. businesses to attend this meeting in Thailand. I would also like to thank the Thai Chamber of Commerce and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for hosting this important meeting, as well as all agencies of the Thai and U.S. side for playing a continued important role in promoting concrete cooperation between the private and public sector of Thailand and the United States. Distinguished participants, the rise of Asia over the past 10 years is an important shift in the dynamics of the international economy, trade and investment. Of particular importance is the role of the region and the sub-region that are now key players in driving forward the global economy. These include Southeast Asia, which is the region that has stability, peace, and continued economic growth. This region is also connected to and have close relationship with two other important regions, namely East Asia and South Asia, collectively known as the Indo-Pacific. The three regions of Asia have combined population of nearly 4 billion people, or approximately half of the world population, with the majority in the working age. The region also have economic growth rate that is higher than global average for over a decade, and are the production base of critical industry which are the key to supply and demand chain within the regions and in the world. More importantly, the regional countries still have great business and investment opportunities and are open to cooperation in this area with countries from outside the regions. Therefore, it could be said that the Indo-Pacific is truly the region of opportunities. And I think all of you come to the right place. Nevertheless, our region could have not reached where we are today without the role and good cooperation of the private sector, who has been an important partner in our economic and social development. The next important question is how can we work together going forward in utilizing the potential in the region to a greater benefit. Even more important is how we can transform this opportunity into a sustainability that would benefit all parties in the long run, as well as improving the well-being of the people. Distinguished participants, in order for you all to have a clearer picture of the business potential in the regions, I would like to focus on 3 key topics that are interrelated. I might not be frank as Mr. Freeman, but I will try my best. First, given that the Thai and U.S. Chamber of Commerce are the co-hosts of this meeting, I would like to touch on the long-standing relationship between Thailand and the U.S. for over 185 years, or over 2 centuries if you count from the first contact that we have with each other. Our friendship has always been mutually beneficial. Thailand is an important base in doing business for almost 700 leading U.S. companies. And in fact, I hope what Mr. Freeman said will be true, 2 million more to come. And we continue to have unwavering confidence in Thailand, even during a challenging time. Just as President Abraham Lincoln has said about the friendship between Thailand and the US, that we are great and good friends. At the present, Thailand is the second largest economy in Southeast Asia. Our strength derives from our strategic location and what we have developed over the past decade, which are the infrastructure system, strong industry, and solid economic fundamental, including foreign reserve of over 220 billion US dollar, the 12th largest in the world. Thailand continues to push forward policies that are business friendly, including improving law and regulation to add more convenience for business people from foreign countries and also for investors. In fact, over the past 2-3 years, our ranking in the ease of doing business have improved very rapidly from almost 50 to 21 at this point in time. Over the past year, we have passed almost 400 law and regulation to update the outdated law, to reduce the cost for business, and also to lay down the key foundation for the digital revolution. Many laws, for example, digital privacy law, cybersecurity law, Digital Government Act, also setting up a new Ministry of Digital Economy has been enacted. We also provide a special privilege for doing business, especially in the 12 targeted industry that we think is an industry of the futures. We also have been working on a key project, which is called the Eastern Economic Corridor, and also other infrastructure projects, including the motorway, airport, deep sea port, high-speed rail link, including a total of almost 20 billion US dollars. In fact, there will be many more projects to come, which is to be the target of the investment of the company who are sitting in this room. The private sector of the US and our friendly nation has been responding well to Thailand investment promotion policies. In 2018, the US company submit application for the investment privilege from the BOI with the highest total value of more than 10 billion US dollars. And at the same time, Thai company also continue to increase their investment in US, amounting to almost 10 billion US dollars and that creating more than 70,000 jobs in various states in the US. I hope that investment between our private sector will continue to increase and expand. Distinguished participants, the second point that I wish to address is the opportunity and potential of the Mekong subregions. The subregion is very important, not only because it is home to half of the members of the ASEAN, but also it is an important market that is also driving forward the regional economy. The 5 sub-regional countries, the CLMVT, have a combined combination of nearly 300 million people, or close to half of ASEAN, and also have abundant national resources, which are the key factors that continue to attract business and foreign investment. In 2017, the Mekong sub-region received foreign investment of approximately 30 billion US dollar, equivalent to 23% of the total foreign investment to ASEAN, with a total trade with countries outside the sub-region value almost 950 billion US dollars, increasing from the year before by 16%, and this trend is likely to continue. At the same time, the Mekong sub-region still need help in many areas. This include infrastructure, human resource, and labor development. I think they hope to cooperate with you in improve their infrastructure, their human resources, and also their labor development. The CLMVT country has been working together to invite friendly nations, including the US, to become our development partner. Beginning from the ACMEC framework The ACMEC come from Irrawaddy, Chao Phraya, and Mae Khong economic cooperation strategy. This is the three most important river in the regions. During Thailand chairmanship of the ACMEC last year, the ACMEC master plan was endorsed to prioritize the area of cooperation that will respond to the need of the sub-region. This includes the infrastructure connectivity, digital economy, and energy, which are the topic of today's meeting. The area of development that I have just mentioned will create great business for the private sector to participate in. And I hope that you will not miss it. Distinguished participants. The third point is related to the ASEAN Summit and the meeting with the ASEAN Dialogue Partner, which are the most important meeting of the Southeast Asia regions. It's taking place next door from this room. As a representative of the Royal Thai government, it would be impossible for me not to speak about cooperation related to ASEAN. Throughout the past 11 months, Thailand has been performing the role of the chair of the ASEAN under the theme of Advancing Partnership for Sustainability, with attached importance to the sustainability in all dimensions, and one that leaves no one behind. In the fast-changing current world, ASEAN needs to be future-oriented and to have a greater unity, including in the area of economic cooperation, which has been the high priority for all ASEAN member states. At the ASEAN Summit meeting yesterday, the leader of ASEAN reiterated the importance of economic cooperation in various areas. This includes the concrete implementation under the Seamless ASEAN, which will connect ASEAN countries in trade, investment, tourism, custom, and also with connectivity initiative of other regions, including the policy of Indo-Pacific today. This will help improve the productivity, reduce the cost, and increase the competitiveness of everyone involved. On the RCEP agreement, we also working very hard up until last night to have a significant progress in the preparations, and Thailand will continue to actively work with all parties concerned in order to reach an agreement subsequently. Distinguished participants, Thailand will continue to promote cooperation and partnership with countries within and outside ASEAN. Our goal is not only to jointly construct common peace and prosperity in the long run, but also to address various kinds of uncertainty and challenge in the current world. I hope that our good friendship that lasts over 200 years will continue much further and will be the cornerstone of a greater prosperity of our relationship to the futures. I'm very confident that this Indo-Pacific Business Forum will achieve all of its objectives and will be an important step for future concrete cooperation in the Indo-Pacific regions. Now is an opportune moment. I wish to declare the second Indo-Pacific Business Forum officially open. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you, Dr. Putrakoon. The Royal Thai government has been a wonderful partner for this important forum. Next, I have the privilege of welcoming to the stage our keynote speaker, the Honorable Wilbur Ross, the United States Secretary of Commerce. The Honorable Wilbur Ross, the United States Secretary of Commerce, should be arriving very shortly.
Well, thank you for that warm welcome. And a special thank you to the Thailand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the entire Thai government for hosting us here in Bangkok. You have brilliantly executed multiple high-level summits all at the same time. And congratulations to Thailand for a couple of other things. First of all, your successful chairmanship of ASEAN this year, and for the fact that your country has risen in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rankings so that it now is number 27, just behind Germany and Austria. I think we should give Thailand a round of applause for these achievements. Thanks also to the groups that have come together to make this event possible, including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. ASEAN Business Council, the Thai Chamber of Commerce, the Federation of Thai Industries, and the U.S. government team that worked so hard with all of you. We have much to discuss in our relationship. More than 1,000 business and government leaders from 28 countries in the Indo-Pacific and beyond have registered for this event. We also have 19 U.S. ambassadors and chiefs of mission in attendance. I am joined here as well at the forum today by leadership from 8 U.S. departments and agencies integral to our efforts to deepen commercial ties. At the other end of this fabulous facility, the East Asia Summit, we also have our National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, and his team. I will be dividing my time between the two events. President Trump has made U.S. engagement with the 35 countries of the Indo-Pacific region a top priority of the U.S. government. And recently, Prime Minister Modi joined President Trump in Houston for the hugely successful Howdy Modi event, a first of its kind in the U.S. While President Trump was in Vietnam in 2017, he outlined a vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific in which all countries prosper as sovereign, independent states. I just made an extensive trip to New Delhi, Bangalore, Singapore, Sydney, and Canberra. And in the previous 2 years, I traveled to Bangkok, Hong Kong, and Vientiane. And I joined Vice President Pence in Tokyo, where we initiated the Japan Economic Dialogue. This is probably the most visits in a short time to the Indo-Pacific region ever for a Secretary of Commerce. In my earlier private life, as some of you know, I had businesses here in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Japan, in South Korea, and in India. And on this trip, I'm joined in Bangkok with 40 executives from leading American companies. Tomorrow, our trade mission will travel to Indonesia and then on to Vietnam to continue our efforts to increase trade and investment opportunities for American companies. The Trump administration is extremely engaged in and fully committed to this region. Two-way trade between the United States and the Indo-Pacific region increased by almost 6% last year to a record $2 trillion. This amount is larger than the economies of all but 8 countries in the world. That two-way trade figure of $2 trillion far surpasses U.S. bilateral trade with Europe, $1.5 trillion, U.S. bilateral trade with South and Central America, $1.2 trillion. So you can see how important the relationship with this region is compared with our relationship to other major regions in the world. Meanwhile, the U.S. Asian population grew by more than 70% between 2000 and 2018. It is now more than 22 million people. And there were more than 555,000 Asian American owned companies in the U.S., and they generated almost $700 billion in revenues in the last reported year. Yet they constitute only one aspect of our commercial engagement with this region. The cumulative stock of bilateral foreign direct investment between the U.S. and the Indo-Pacific increased by 5.9% in 2018 to $1.6 trillion. The U.S., in fact, is the largest source of FDI into the Indo-Pacific region, with a total investment at the end of last year of some $866 billion. That is far more, for example, than China's foreign direct investment in the region. That was $504 billion in 2017, of which $381 billion went to Hong Kong, leaving only $123 billion for the rest of the region. According to FDI Markets, the number of U.S. announced greenfield projects in the Indo-Pacific region rose by 23% last year to 1,022 individual projects. And ASEAN is the number one U.S. investment destination within the Indo-Pacific. Our cumulative $271 billion invested is $29 billion more than U.S. FDI in China and Japan combined. A recent FDI example was Walmart's 77% stake in Flipkart, purchased for $16 billion, the largest foreign direct investment in India's history. Another was Las Vegas Sands' $3.3 billion in Singapore for a new 15,000-seat entertainment arena and a 1,000-suite hotel. Meanwhile, FDI from the Indo-Pacific region into the United States was valued at an amazing $785 billion. Thailand's Global Chemicals plc and Dalim have committed $10 billion to a new petrochemical facility in the state of Ohio. Indian steel producer JSW recently invested $500 million in a greenfield facility also in Ohio. Japanese and Korean companies have invested nearly $54 billion in the U.S. auto industry through the end of 2018, and SK is adding a $1 billion electric battery plant there, and Samsung and LG are ramping up new appliance factories in the southeastern part of the U.S. And I hear there's more big news that'll be made a bit later at today's event. Since the start of the Trump administration, the Department of State and the U.S. Agency for International Development have provided the region with more than $4.5 billion of foreign assistance. The U.S. Millennium Challenge Corporation this past June signed a $350 million compact with Mongolia, and in April it finalized $480 million with Sri Lanka. In addition, MCC is currently developing compacts with Timor-Leste and Indonesia, and it has initiated a threshold program with the Solomon Islands. Since July 2018, the Commerce Department has worked with 9,000 U.S. companies, facilitating $7.56 billion in U.S. exports to Indo-Pacific countries. Of this, $3.1 billion was for government tenders won by U.S. firms. My department also has worked directly with more than 2,500 Indo-Pacific companies seeking to invest in the United States. Those investments in the U.S. economy have totaled more than $18 billion. And the Commerce Department is currently supporting U.S. private sector in 412 active deals with Indo-Pacific governments. The Department of Energy has mobilized $1.5 billion in public and private investment into 11 renewable energy projects in Indonesia. The U.S. ASEAN Smart Cities Partnership, announced by Vice President Pence in Singapore in 2018, is spurring American investment in the region's digital infrastructure. The U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, created by the BUILD Act of 2018, now has $60 billion available in development funding for emerging markets. Last May, Congress confirmed a full board for the U.S. Export-Import Bank, restoring the private sector's access to nearly $40 billion in its pipeline for U.S. export deals. Multi-year reauthorization of EXIM is currently pending in the Congress, and we're hopeful it will soon pass. And I might note, EXIM President Kimberly Reid is attending this forum. Later in the conference, OPIC Executive Vice President David Bohigian will describe an exciting new initiative called the Blue Dot Network. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'll just say it is a multilateral approach to fostering economic growth by promoting excellence in sustainable infrastructure development. Meanwhile, we continue to negotiate trade deals with countries in this region. In September 2018, we signed the renegotiated Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. And last month, the United States and Japan signed two agreements, the U.S.-Japan Trade Agreement and the U.S.-Japan Digital Trade Agreement. Under the first, the U.S.-Japan Trade Agreement, Japan will eliminate or reduce tariffs on approximately $7.2 billion in U.S. agricultural exports. More than 90% of U.S. agricultural imports into Japan will be duty-free or will have preferential tariff access. The U.S.-Japan Digital Trade Agreement ensures unrestricted data transfers across borders. It guarantees consumer privacy protections, promotes common principles to address cybersecurity challenges, and supports effective use of encryption techniques. This trade pact should lead to a large increase in the present $40 billion worth of digital trade between the United States and Japan. We're also engaged in a long overdue reassessment of our trade relationship with China, and we are very far along with phase one. Finally, a new transaction advisory fund under the Infrastructure Transaction and Assistance Network helps partners assess the financial and environmental impacts of potential projects. Today, we are releasing a report detailing these and other initiatives the United States is implementing in the Indo-Pacific region with bipartisan support from Congress. And if you know much about Washington nowadays, bipartisan support for anything is unusual. So it's very good that that consensus exists for the Indo-Pacific region. The long-standing U.S. commitment to the region's development programs and our open markets for exports have helped millions of people climb out of poverty. We will continue to champion the values that have served the Indo-Pacific so well. Respect for the sovereignty of all nations, the peaceful resolution of disputes, an open commercial environment with transparent agreements that encourage investment and connectivity, and adherence to international law, including freedom of navigation and of overflight. ASEAN took an important step in assuring these values with its June 2019 release of its Outlook on the Indo-Pacific. We see a clear convergence between the principles enshrined in ASEAN's outlook and our own Indo-Pacific strategy. As President Trump said in November 2017, quote, "We have been friends, partners, and allies in the Indo-Pacific for a long, long time, and we will be friends, partners, and allies for a long, long time to come." Now, I've thrown a lot of large numbers at you today, and there's a reason for that. They prove our deep and continuing commitment to the region. And as you gather again in future years, our numbers will only get bigger. One last thing, given all the publicity about Thailand and GSP, I would be remiss if I did not address it. The GSP issue has been blown way out of proportion. 70% of Thailand's GDP is exports. That's $340 billion out of 481 billion GDP. But the total amount of GSP exports to the U.S. last year was only $4.4 billion. And of that amount, only 1.3 billion is being removed from the zero tariff category. The remaining 3.1 billion, 70% of it, will remain tariff-free. The 1.3 billion that's affected is 38/100% of Thailand's GDP. 38/100%. And that trivial proportion will be subject to tariffs averaging only 4.5%. It's no big deal. But there is still time between now and April of 2020, when it's scheduled to go into effect. There's still time to renegotiate the underlying issue of workers' rights. In any event, Thailand now has a larger amount of GSP exports than any other country. Thank you, and my best to all of you in achieving success during this week's forum and well beyond. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Ross. May I invite the following distinguished guests to come to the stage for a photo opportunity. Mr. Sarasin, Mr. Freeman, and Dr. Pudragoon. Thank you.